I forgot to put the YouTube channel up so I could see it. Oh, well, that's the way life goes. Hi, everybody on YouTube. So let's get ready to go. And we are going. And by the way, now, in case you didn't know this, is that Zoom doesn't give you the choice of whether or not you want to let people know you're recording. Now, automatically, it says that you're recording. So if you go into a meeting that's already being recorded before you get into it, it says this meeting is being recorded. Okay, so that's what it says. So, hey, but we're streaming to Facebook, we're streaming to YouTube, and we're streaming to all services that will let me stream to them. Welcome to the SoundBroker RoundTable. No longer the Mastermind RoundTable, although we all are masterminds in what we do. And the idea is to put like minds together so we can come up with more ideas on how to get through the times that we're in. So the COVID times are basically over right now. And now it's all about, how we're going to succeed in the future. So that's what this show is about. We're going to talk about how current events affects our lives, our industry, and those people that are surrounding our industry and what's going on. And so with that in mind, one last thing I want to say, whatever you hear today is an opinion. If you approve of it and like it, that's great. If you don't, well, so be it. But do your own research. There's Google, there's Bing, there is Yahoo search. So check everything that you hear out. And the other thing I will say is that if you want to join the panel, there's a link in the description, or you can email us or contact us through Facebook. And with that, is there anything else I left out? I don't think so. Hi, everybody. How's everybody doing? I hope everybody has had so far a good week. Oh, and the last thing, of course, is that we did change the time. Now it's noon here on the left coast, and it's 3:00 on the right coast, depending on how you're looking at your map. If you're in Canada, I think it's backwards, right? You look down at the map, right? So that's how it is. Anyway, how's everybody doing? Anybody want to say anything before we cover what we want to talk about today?
He's going great. Awesome. We got lots of things, phones ringing and emails or resumes are being sent, and we're looking forward to jump-starting this, at least my end, doing live sound. So I'm excited about the near future here.
Yeah, it seems like we're all going back to work. I think Steve Sluter's in the room, and he might talk about a little bit about what's going on, how busy he's gotten from sitting around just doing fishing. Now he has to sneak the fishing in between the work, right, Steve?
That's right. Yeah, we have Essence Fest loading in this week, so we've got some lighting and some supplemental audio for another company that actually has the gig. So that's keeping us busy, and they just finished up an install. So things are moving along. Last few weeks have been pretty steady.
That's good. We're also busy that I noticed that it might be hard to tie our shoes. And I wanted to say to you that Amazon is now having a sale on Expando no-tie shoelace systems with elastic laces. One size fits all, and it's on sale today. We'll put the link on so you don't have to look it up yourself. But I will tell you, I am not getting anything out of this. It's just a link that I found. I don't even know if it works. But that reminds me, why was the little shoe worried? And the reason the little shoe was worried because his father was a loafer and his mother was a sneaker. I mean, I would be worried too if that was the case. So there's your joke. There's a little dad joke for you guys. That takes care of that. So the truth is out. The truth is out. We have been invaded by UFOs. The military is now acknowledging, and Congress is now acknowledging what we've all known for years, wearing tinfoil hats, that there are others. We are not alone. What was that show that had that thing? We Are Not Alone. It was like a man and a woman, and they investigated extraterrestrial.
The X-Files, Jim.
The X-Files. There you go. The X-Files. That's right. So we are not alone. Has anybody seen a alien or a extraterrestrial or an experience of one?
You mean excluding you, Jan?
Yeah, well, my hair looks like I am from outer space today, but
before or after drinking?
I haven't started yet. It's early. It's early. Yeah, it's early. You know, it's like, hey, I'm going to be drinking hard.
Yeah, really. I've never run into an extraterrestrial. Not at all. Not myself.
You know, and you see these things, you know, you see the military. Have you seen the military footage? It's like little blips on a screen. And, you know, for me, it's just a little blip on the screen. So it's hard to think that that is an alien. The other thing is, if they are so sophisticated that they were able to get here, why is it they always go to, you know, to the places where the guys got their cars up on the lawn, you know, that kind of stuff, you know? It just seems to me, why wouldn't they go to a big city and, you know, and have some fun? You know, or come to Las Vegas and gamble some of their alien chips.
Well, with the things I've seen, it's been like over the ocean, that kind of thing, you know, where there is really nobody. There's that one that kind of looks like a Tic Tac.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, really, I mean, you know, I think Rupert might be monitoring these things. He's a ham operator. He's into security. But, you know, have you seen any?
I've seen some of those images. Yeah, it kind of looks like lens flares to me.
Yeah, me too. You know, but you know, I would like to think that you know, with the universe as big as it is, with billions and billions of stars, to quote Carl Sagan, that there would be other forms of life out there other than just what we have here. And of course, there's always that theory now that we are nothing but a video game for a giant in another world. That we are not really existing. We are just virtual in a video game. Has anybody heard that theory?
Not from anyone without drugs.
Well, as you notice, Paul raised his hands. You know, that's
As I asked before, is this before or after drinking?
Well, I don't know. All right. So now, Steve, you're in Louisiana. I heard that it's hurricane season. Have you seen any hurricanes yet?
I hope not. No, not yet.
We almost got stuck in a hurricane. I think that you and I were actually in a hurricane, weren't we? Or
Yeah,
something
not
close
quite.
to it.
No. About another 60, 70 mile an hour worth of winds. Yeah.
Man, it was raining, man. We went out on this boat. We probably shouldn't have gone out in the bayou. And it started to rain so hard that Steve couldn't see. He was driving the boat and he couldn't see, so we had to pull over. And as I was watching him, he said, "You better lay down on the boat. And by the way, get away from that metal." So I think that's the closest I want to come to a hurricane.
Yeah. They're a lot worse.
So, has anybody been affected by any cyber attacks? Like, for example, what's happening now with JBS, with that meatpacking plant, that they've been attacked. And by the way, the good news is that it will not affect meat prices. Now, JBS, if you don't know what it is a Brazilian company that's one of the largest meat producers in the world, and they're here in the United States as well as Brazil and I think 20 other countries. Has anybody at all heard anything about that and want to put something in about, you know, with cyber attacks and ransomware and what we can do to save ourselves so that none of us gets affected by this? Rupert, you do some security work. What kind of advice could you give us?
Well, often when these companies are affected by so-called cyber attacks, quite often they actually shut their systems down as a precautionary measure. Doesn't necessarily mean they've been infected. It can sometimes mean that, but many times the disruption is caused by people shutting down their systems simply as a precautionary measure, mitigate the risk, and then they can bring things up slowly. So just because somebody's down or they've been affected by a cyber attack doesn't necessarily mean always that they've been infected by it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They also are targeting not only large people. They got our church about 18 months ago, and so we had to dump all the computers and rebuild all the files from scratch. We didn't pay them, but I mean, what happens is that, like with Colonial Pipeline, when they paid them that $5 million, that just encourages them to do it again. And yes, I'm being affected because my my diesel price down here has tripled, and it hasn't gone down yet from the Colonial Pipe attack.
This is private sector, correct?
Pardon?
Private sector that they're kind of responsible for antivirus kind of stuff, right? I mean, you would think so. Do they
Right.
need to throw more dollars? I would think so, because it's been a failure, in my opinion. First it was the oil supply, and now it's meat, and these are both private sector entities, and so maybe they should bring in the military. I think in their cyber, cyber crimes division of Army, whatever. What do you think?
I think something's got to be to discourage them. Getting money doesn't discourage them, but I mean, Trend Micros, which is who I run all my software security through now, is offering ransomware package for private individuals. So and it's interesting, and this was 6 years ago, 8 years ago, when Target went down, when they got ransomware and they got their credit card system stolen. They actually entered through the HVAC contractors network that was controlling all the thermostats and all the targets. So, they're finding these weak back doors to come in.
Yeah, there was the big cyber attack. What was it called? Clearstorm, Clearweather, Clear something or other. Does that
SolarWinds?
SolarWinds, that's it. Yeah, I knew it had something to do with the environment. I couldn't remember exactly what it did, but it seems what they did in that particular situation, they got into the clean room of the developers. So basically, the way I heard it described is that imagine having a Reese's Pieces or, in a package, right? And you expect to get it from Reese's. So when you go to the store, you open it up and you know that it's come from Reese's. But basically what happened is this company snuck into Reese's and put razor blades in just before they sealed the package. And so Reese's didn't even know that it had been done. And that's one of the analogies that people are using in this. So you got to be really careful. But most of us, the way we get hacked is through clicking on links. Wouldn't you guys agree on that?
Absolutely. Yeah. Human error. Human is always the vulnerable point.
Right. So what I recommend is, what I'll do is when I get an email from somebody, even if I know them and I'm not expecting a link or an attachment, I just click reply and say, hey, I didn't expect it. If you really did send me a file, please call me so we could discuss.
I wouldn't do that. I've seen social engineering attacks where attackers have been able to infiltrate the system to where if you reply and ask them whether this was something they really sent, they will send back saying, yes, it was, but that's the attacker talking.
Yeah, I just put a link in the chat myself of what I normally send. I think I sent it. Well, anyway, we'll see what I did. You guys will tell me if I sent the right thing.
Jan, let's not rule out the vegans.
What vegans?
It's a meat packing plant. It could be a vegan hack.
Oh, yes, it's right. It could be Beyond Beef trying to get. Is that Beyond Beef or Beyond Reality? I don't know.
It's the Russians.
Vegan Russians.
It is 100% Russian, and I don't know. They're saying that it might be what is the new KGB? What are they called now? It could be a part of that now. Putin's our enemy, so it wouldn't surprise me if he's 100% behind it.
Well, either that or China, or I would like to think it's Malaysia, but they can't even get a plane in the air, so I doubt it's Malaysia. That's where it's at. By the way, okay, and so now, like I said, that they're not going to be raising the price on the meat, but it seems that they're raising the price on everything else. For example, if you're doing any renovation or building, you know what I'm talking about. The price of plywood has gone through the roof. And basically, it's hard to find materials. So now what I want to know is how is the manufacturing Are you being affected? Because I hear that you can't get cardboard and you can't get aluminum right now, and building supplies are really scarce. I'll give you an example. One of the stage manufacturers that we work with, they can't get aluminum. So right now, their output is being pushed back now into August. Is there any manufacturers in the room, or anybody want to say anything about that?
In Austin, Texas, they're starting to go to 3D printing. They're really ramping up, and it's amazing. There's this thing that just drops concrete and it goes around the building, and they go layer at a time till they build the building. It's amazing.
Kelly, what were you going to say?
I was going to say, working for Electrosonics, we've actually been able to avoid it, but we're now starting to feel a little bit of the pressure. The chips, not being able to get the chips.
Yeah, well, the chips are in demand by the car companies, by the console company. I mean, it's the same chips that they're using. But what about card? You see, what happens, and I think that this is what happened, is that everybody has gone to just-in-time marketing. In other words, you order it, and then they build it. And now all of these people have been out of work for so long that there's no employees to do the work. And that's why the prices are going up. They can't find the employees, the qualified labor to go back to the factories to build what it is we need. And it's happening. Our economy is gearing up so fast that there was no fail-safe mechanism for this. So once we do start to go back, the question is, will people start dropping their prices? Like, for example, I've gotten emails from multiple different manufacturers that they're going to be raising their prices somewhere between 5 and 15% right now temporarily. The question is, if they can get away with it, are they going to keep it going? Hey, Michael Brown is in the room. What do you have to say for yourself?
I think temporary price increases are about as common as temporary tax increases.
I agree with Mike. Once you take your prices to a certain level, you're not going to go back.
Because here's the problem. So I'm looking at an email right now from a company called The Light Source. I don't know if any of you guys are familiar with it. They're out of, I forget where, North Carolina, somewhere around there. They make really, really, really good devices and accessories for stage lighting and studio lighting. I really like their stuff. Almost all of it is milled from billet aluminum. And it says, I quote, we anticipated that 2021 would bring a resolution to the adversities we faced last year. There are a trail of issues in the wake of 2020 that still need resolving, along with raw material shortages and raw material inflation. So they're raising their prices, and they're not even saying it's temporary. Because here's what happens. As soon as the Light Source or Electrosonic or anybody raises their prices, whoever is selling them the cardboard, the aluminum, or whatever goes, hey, look, we can keep selling at this price. We don't have to lower our price. This is the new price. So the manufacturer will never get a chance to bring it down. And I just don't think many ever planned on really doing it.
Well, that end, you don't want to. You're going to raise your prices, and every company is different. But if your strategy is to maintain customer loyalty, the last thing you want to do is raise your prices 15% or 10%. We just had a 3% price increase that happened just last month. Okay, so just an incremental price increase to cover some of these things, but we also don't want to bring our prices back down, because when you invest in an electrosonic product, which is not an inexpensive product, we don't want to devalue that product in the marketplace too. So it's all about it. It's that whole marketing mix that plays into this.
Mm-hmm. I want to bring Don Hartley in the room if I can. If Don, you want to, because Don he's with a manufacturer's rep firm, and they handle a lot of different lines. I believe Don's there. You're
including Roland, apparently.
Yes. Sorry, is my audio okay today? I'm not on my mic.
No, it's quite hot. If you could just bring it down just a little bit, yep. You'll blend in with the rest of us.
Excellent. So
you're still distorted, Don.
Yeah.
Let's see here.
Badly distorted.
Either that or those people watching on YouTube and Facebook, you're drinking too much. Okay, so considering, don't you have a brand of microphone line there or something like that? I don't know. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. What the hell?
I don't think Quantum has a mic line, but they do have some of the best audio and mic accessories.
No, they have a mic line.
Better?
Which mic
How we
line
doing
is that?
now? Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Now you're a little soft.
No, you're perfect.
All
You're
right.
perfect, just the way you are.
Okay. All right. Well,
Don't
thank you
go
for that.
changing to try and please me.
No, not the jokes, not the singing either. Stop. Stop.
Yes, I do. I represent a microphone line, Sennheiser, and I represent Roland and Synthax, which is RME audio, and a couple dozen other manufacturers. And yeah, we're feeling the pain of the AKM chip fire, chip factory fire. We're feeling the pain of logistics, overall semiconductor shortages, as discussed with the automobile industry, with all of the shortages. It's starting to affect, the pro audio business. And being that the pro audio business is such a small percentage of buyers compared to automobiles or other consumer goods, it's a struggle. I have some brands that are doing well through it that planned ahead and were able to get some parts and inventory before the increases. And then I have others that have had one single chip that was 85 cents is now $10, and there are, something like 8 of them in a particular device. And with that, it just forces the price increase. And I have to agree with Mike Brown on price increases from manufacturers are much like tax increases. I couldn't have said it better myself. I don't see it going back down after it's gone up.
Well, there's an article that we just posted a link from, and it's from a company called bankrate.com. And it basically is talking about that homeowners were focused on making their properties, they were putting money into their properties. And it seems that the renovation costs went up somewhat 50% compared to 2019 levels. So, and my cousin is in construction, and he's telling me that his costs are getting higher as well. So I think it's around the board. But what I'm also reading is that the economy is going to readjust itself, and this is going to compensate, because we don't want to see inflation. And if prices go up, then we're going to see inflation. And I think there's many, many, many different aspects of our government, the feds, foreign governments that just don't want to see inflation. Tim, go ahead. You have your hand up.
Yeah. Well, my thought here, Jan, is that we all had a year off, basically because of the pandemic, but the calendar did not have a year off, and all of the inflation, all of the price increases, everything that would have normally happened over the last 14 or 15 months is catching back up with us. It's unfortunate, and it's unfortunate that it comes largely all together. But I think if you went back and look at what did not happen over the last year and a half, it's happening now. That's all it is.
Yeah, well, it seems to me, and again, I'll talk to Don and Kelly or anyone else who's involved in distribution of new stuff. It seems that every year we will get a price increase. Usually, it's about a 5% in price increase at the beginning of January with all the lines. I think that's also a way to get manufacturers to increase their sales, but because they go to their reps, their salespeople, and everyone say, okay, go to your clients and say, hey, if you don't buy now, next year it's going to be 5% more. But this happened just like that. It just seemed to be, and there we were with the price increase.
So I can speak to that. So at the beginning of this year, I had a few manufacturers that did have their normal annual price increase of about 5%. But I also had a handful of manufacturers that did not do that. And they did it on purpose just to get business back going again. But they could only hold out so long when they look at the numbers, and come July 1st, those ones that didn't do it in January will. And a couple of them that did in January will as well increase their price on July 1st. So yes and no. Yes, there's a normal increase in price, and some held out on it just to increase sales, but there's also a huge constraint on parts right now. Huge, whether it's a chip or something else like aluminum, is huge. And I could even, speak specifically about PowerSoft amplifiers. They've managed to ship the whole time. I've done great business with PowerSoft through the whole pandemic, and they held out, and 18 months later, they have no choice but to do a price increase now at this point, because of just the raw materials are so much more for them to build the same product.
Do they have any spare cardboard boxes that I could buy? Oh, okay.
I got some cardboard boxes around here. Probably too many. I'll bring them over.
Yeah, it seems like I use the Amazon. I whatever I buy on Amazon, I save those boxes, and then when I ship something out, I just fit it into an Amazon box. I do it not
gaff
because
tape over it.
Yeah. Not because I want to save the money on cardboard boxes, but the fact of the matter is, I like the fact that I'm recycling as well and saving the money.
So Jan, the other significant price increase is copper.
Yes,
I got hit pretty hard on that this week. Raw copper's gone up. 4-aught wire almost doubled in price.
I figured it must have, because I was at a job site this morning, and we tend to start probably a couple hours after the electricians. They come in around 5:30 or 6, and we'll start around 7:38. And so they already had a couple of guys going around picking up scraps, and picking up the cutoffs and trash and whatnot from the work they were doing. And a few minutes later, I saw the same guys were actually breaking apart the flex. So wherever a piece of armored cable, they cut the 3 feet of excess off, the guys were actually pulling the copper out of the flex, and they were sorting their conduit and their flex into one bin, the copper into another, and the cardboard into another. I've never seen an electrician sort scraps before, ever.
Oh, I have.
So there has to be money in it. Otherwise they wouldn't do it.
Either that or we're going to go through my penny collection. I think now's the time.
Yes, absolutely.
But what about the cost of labor? Is that not a factor in? I mean, one of the biggest costs any company will have is their labor, their workforce. So if a lot of people have been off or whatever, is it just costing more to get people back on the work, on the workforce, on the payroll?
I was going to bring that up too. It's interesting how all these materials are going up in price. The finished goods that I rep are going up in price, but whose paychecks are going up? I mean, so how are we supposed to pay for this stuff as consumers? Uber's higher, food delivery, Grubhub, just restaurants in general are, 20, 30, 50% higher than they were a year or two ago. But yet who's making 20% and 30, 50% more money than last year? So how do we pay for these increases in costs as consumers?
First of all, nobody I know will admit it that they're making more money this year. If you have, and besides, even if you did make more money this year or you're making more money this year, the offset of the cost of what we lost last year is outrageous, and I am, from what I do, in case you guys don't know what I do, we sell a lot of used equipment, and it seems that market right now is really exploding because people are looking to try to save some money, and they can't find it. Even if they wanted to buy new, they can't really find the stuff that is new. I mean, especially in the staging market right now, everybody seems to be wanting to do outdoor shows. And I spoke to somebody who's super knowledgeable about outdoor shows, and they can't even find enough stages right now that are being booked, big shows that have been booked, that they cannot find an outdoor stage to use in September right now. All of the stages that existing right now seem to be booked, and there's not enough aluminum to build new ones. So that becomes a premium. And the other thing that I will say, and I want to go around the room on this, and we have an expert horse trader in the room with us. The guy that got me started in the business basically gave me the most advice when I was starting. regarding about the used gear. But I think also, and Kelly and Don, I think what's happening right now, because we were all off for a year, a lot of people can't afford to go out and buy new gear, so that they're going to be using what they've got in their inventory. So anybody want to say anything about that? Ken Porter.
Well, it's some stuff of what people will hit writers and you got to look at some bands and stuff coming back of, they're coming back out and this is what they want to have. They're new generation, what they're going for. There is selling, stuff like that. A lot of church stuff has gone, budgeting wise, the installs have gone to use stuff in installs and stuff there. The other one that we didn't hit on is the problem with international shipping right now is trying to get space on something, or the issues on shipping with containers. I was talking to someone who does a lot of international shipping over the weekend, and they said that they've had a problem where they keep going up, because if the ship is detained and can't port, they keep getting bills. They keep having to pay more for container rental. And if something goes longer, they keep getting held up with more and more money, and the cost of a problem on shipping, and then trying to get space on airlines or any other stuff shipping, you just can't find it. So it's getting to be really, that's just another part of the compounding of shortage of materials, and shipping could be part of shortage of materials. But I know that several plants down here in the Southeast, car plants were shut down last week, and they're looking at how to make it through till changeover the 1st of July of what they have enough materials to keep on there. So there's a lot of issues going to be is where it's going to go and how we're going to be on it. The bigger problem is that fuel costs going up doesn't help a lot of the stuff too. And, we have all these fuel surcharges that keep coming back too. And just even down, it affects everything from Amazon to UPS, FedEx, and all the other deliveries.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned three things there that, the gas prices, the shipping container, and something else, but whatever it was. What?
Air freight.
Air freight. Well, and coming into international shipping. So first of all, if you go now to try to buy a shipping container, which you want to use for dead storage, you'll find that the prices of those shipping containers have gone through the roof, just like everything else. The other thing is that in regards to shipping internationally, even to Canada, it's a big challenge. It's a big challenge getting something in and out of Canada. We're shipping right now into Canada, and we're finding that it is a little more difficult to get cargo back and forth. So that's something that's happening as well. And all of these things add to our costs. But the reality is how many people are out there right now buying new stuff and not using what they've got currently in their inventory. I mean, for example, how readily are you looking at spending more money right now or using what you've got in inventory?
Well, I'm spending money to cover accounts that I don't have the inventory to cover.
Mm-hmm. Right. And now, are you a lot of the inventory that you have that you've pushed off? Are you feeling that the life cycle of that inventory is expanding? In other words, do you feel you got another year out of inventory?
No.
I've had some inventory that it's accelerated the depreciation or the life cycle on it, and that it's gone and started a new life cycle. So you're trying to grab in a new life cycle stuff and not into the older stuff, and trying to expand the older. Mm-hmm. But right now it's new when you're looking at trying to amortize a new expenditure over a 8 to 10 year period. Whereas if you're trying to squeeze another year or two out of an older expenditure, that may not get you the numbers of rental there. You're trying to get on and get started into a new life cycle.
Right. Rupert, did you want to say something?
I'm good. I'll pass.
Okay, good.
I did want to tag on to Rupert's question earlier about labor. In a lot of instances, Rupert, a lot of workers are still under existing union contracts. So electricians, stagehands to some degree. So they're a little stuck in terms of what they can make. They can't just start demanding more money. But when you look at some of the perhaps non-union membership affiliated positions, if you look at things like project managers or engineers, design engineers, or commissioning engineers, field engineers, those sort of people, yeah, they're starting to raise their rates because they can. We have someone that we work with fairly often to calibrate video walls. We can do the simple calibration, but when it comes to actually putting the sensor on the screen in different spots and really measuring the gamma and all that sort of stuff, you know, where you're spending 2 or 3 days on a single screen, that he basically said, and we've worked with him quite a bit. I would probably even call him a friend, but he said, hey, it's 3 months, or if you want me sooner, it's double the rate. It's just that simple. And I get it, supply and demand, so good for him. And he's, you know, trying to make up for last year, just like everybody is. But yeah, so there is a little bit of a labor bump out there, but not as much as most people would think. You know, there was a great article yesterday on CNN about how a lot of workers who are currently getting unemployment assistance don't want to go back to work, not because they're lazy, but because if they're going to go back to the same food service job or factory job they had before, but their daycare center for their kids hasn't reopened because of COVID, there's no point. They can't, not only do they not have the daycare option, but if only one parent can go back to work and the other one can't, then they don't make enough to afford the daycare in the first place. So there's a whole host of factors that are driving the lack of talented workers in the marketplace. But part of it is, yeah, they're mostly not going to get paid any more than they were before. Maybe a little bit more, but not enough to offset some of the challenges that have come along because of the pandemic.
Well, I think McDonald's just said that they're going to raise everybody's pay up to $15. I believe that I don't know how soon that's going to happen. Josh is in the room. Maybe he might add that. But I think that those kind of jobs, Target,
yeah, they are
Walmart.
going to raise it up.
Well, he sounds good. I got to tell you, they haven't raised his internet. Yeah. That's for sure.
No, they were going to raise everybody's pay raise starting the end of June. I think 20th of June, they're upping everybody's pay raise. Managers are getting almost a $2 pay raise, and I think the crew are getting like a $1 pay raise. So yeah.
So people, there is an increase, and I think it's supply and demand. It's the marketplace. But the reality is, what about our skilled labor for the shows? Tim, how are you finding? You know, because you're working now a lot, which is really good. Ken, you're working. Brian, you've got shows coming up. Are you finding any problem putting together? Or Michael, are you finding any problem finding skilled laborers to do the shows that you've been working on?
I have a trouble getting commitments for work months away. I can get people to work next week. I can kind of get them to commit for next month, but no one's committing further down the road, and it's starting to become a problem. On the general labor side, since I am an IA officer in my local, we held labor rates for the arena downtown and for the Performing Arts Center. We did raise our spot labor rate to match the arena rate, but that's the only change in labor pricing we've done. We'll probably do a 2% or 3% raise, hopefully next year for the arena employment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Ken, what about you? What are you seeing down in Nashville way?
It's been up a little bit, it's just been people ready to go to show rates. If you want to work, here's the things we have. It's not like I have some people that have gone off and done other careers and got out of it, but most of them, they're coming back are still what the rates are.
Mm-hmm. And now I have a question for you. You were mentioning back during the pandemic about the buses were all sitting around. How are they now getting out?
They're getting back out. Yes.
So they're not so much in storage. They are working.
Yep. But they also had to do all the stuff to get them back ready going again too, and serviced and operational, make sure that everything's working on them.
Yeah. Well, if you think about it, okay, so several festivals have already sold out for 2021. You got Bonnaroo, the Riot Festival, ACL, EDC, Outside Lands. Garth Brooks just sold out 6 stadium shows starting July 10th, starting here in Vegas with more on the way. This weekend alone saw more crowds assembled now that they're taking off restrictions everywhere. 135,000 plus people gathered at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway for the Indy 500 this week. And basically it says our friends at the Indianapolis Speedway also participated in a COVID aid and stood up vaccine stations to assist in getting the vaccine distributed. So that was from Michael Strickland, by the way. And then he also said the Charlotte Motor Speedway also participated in that, and they had record turnouts. So it seems like things are starting to really come back, and it seems like it's coming back in force.
I talked to some locals that have houses down at Myrtle Beach, down in that area, and it's a typical 3.5 hour drive from Charlotte or from the south side of Charlotte to Myrtle Beach, and they say it's bumper to bumper traffic trying to go to the beach. 5-6 hours to get down there, so it's just jam packed. So I haven't been down to the beach, but that's it's. There's no sitting back and waiting.
I was just in North Carolina, the Outer Banks, and it was packed with people and not a mask to be found anywhere.
All those things are interesting, but all the offices in this whole metro area are empty. 90% empty. It's like a lot of things may be getting back to normal, entertainment, leisure, all these extracurricular activities, but people are still working at home.
Rupert,
As you can see, me too.
Dallas, Texas.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'll be there this weekend.
It's good. And it just seems like the other day I went to El Pollo Loco, and if you don't know what that is, it's like a fast food chicken, right? Really good. And I used their app and I ordered it. And then I went to the store to pick it up. And you know how they have these stalls in front where when you order, you just pull into the stall and they come out to your car, curbside pickup. Well, anyway, I went there and the line of cars going through the drive-in to order was so long that I couldn't get through to park in the spot. So I parked in the parking lot. And then as I walked into the store, there was a line about 10, 15 people coming out the door ready to order. I walked in and there was at least another 10 or 15 people just waiting for their food. And I'd never, even in a normal day, I had never seen that. So I guess what I'm saying is that people are just ready to get out and do whatever it is they can. Movies had record box offices this weekend, so so we are positioned really, really well as an industry.
We're positioned for a big resurgence in COVID-19 infections with a relatively small percentage of people who are still unvaccinated.
I love how optimistic you are, Tim. Thanks.
Yes.
We have 500 new cases in my state. The state has 2.9 million people. No, 1.2 million people in it, and we have 500 new cases since Monday.
This clearly is a regional thing, just depend. Like here in California, I'm in Southern California, and there's been a big push. I mean, our COVID cases are going down, and our vaccine numbers are going up.
Ours were going down. Now they're going back up because the people who are most prone to being infected, the people under the age of 45 now, are the ones that are showing up in the hospitals and showing up at the doctors. And those are the people who are also the least vaccinated.
Well, it's an interesting thing because basically today they just announced that Michigan, who had the worst cases, are opening up. They're opening up. and they only have 30% of their population vaccinated. So yeah, that there is that side of the coin, I mean, it's almost like that old joke. Whereas a guy gets a call from the doctor, and the doctor says to him, "Hey, I've got bad news and worse news." And the guy says, "Bad news and worse news? What are you talking about?" He says, "Well, what's the bad news?" And he says, "Well, I got your test results back and you only have 24 hours to live." And the guy says, what could be worse than that? And the doctor says, "I forgot to call you yesterday."
Jan, that internet marketing party that you went to? They had an open event down on 6th Street. It was cost $39 to get in, and 200 people showed up. They followed that with a Zoom meeting that was free, and 8 people showed up. I don't know if that extends out to in general, but that's just something that happened here locally in Austin recently.
No, it happens all over the place. I mean, it's something we're all going to deal with, and we're going to deal with it soon.
I think there's probably, I've been working from home for the most part for years, other than when I need to go to a job site, and we do officially have an office that I sometimes go to, but I'm just more comfortable at home, and I can get just as much done at home as I can at the office. So I more often than not work from home. So last year, in some respects, wasn't that different. Obviously, there was a lot less work, but in terms of what my day-to-day looked like, it wasn't that much different. But there's a lot of people who want human interaction, who want to hang with people, who want to, you give them a choice of a free Zoom or a paid in-person, they'll take the in-person every time. To speak to what Tim was talking about, as of this week, as of yesterday, roughly 62% of US adults have received at least one shot, and somewhere around 133 million are fully vaccinated. So I think we're probably well enough on our way towards herd immunity that I don't think there'll be a fourth surge that'll cause any kind of shutdown or anything like that, just looking at the numbers. Plus, Anheuser-Busch announced today that if the country reaches 70% by the 4th of July, it's free beer for everybody. Everybody.
Ooh, that's incentive.
Sadly,
I'm surprised, Mike. I'm surprised that it's not Corona beer that's offering Corona beer for everybody. Right now.
That's clever. It's funny, yeah. It's funny, Mike, what you just said though, because like I'm now starting to travel again for business. I've been at home for the last year, just starting. So I'm going to New York City, and a lot of the broadcasters, you can't go visit them at you can't walk into the studio. They're closed. So they want to do Zoom meetings. So we set up the Zoom meeting to talk about the product. And then we're doing a happy hour in the evening where those guys can come, and we can actually, we're not in the facility. It's, it's off their time, right. and we can, kiss hands and, or shake hands and kiss babies and do that, press the flesh thing, and get to meet people and know people.
Kelly, I've known you like 20 some years, and you've never once offered to kiss my hand.
Well,
that goes to show where you stand in the pecking order. Yeah, that's it. I hope you got that straight, Mike.
Sennheiser back in the day.
Well, I'm glad you got that straight. Thanks, Kelly, for putting him in his place. I appreciate that.
Now, Kelly, you know why, though, the office is no good and happy hour is fine, right?
Why's that?
Because of HR.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
that's not funny at all.
What Johnny, what Johnny does from 8 to 5, that's HR's business. What he does at 5:01, that's on him.
Well, there's a lot of businesses now. I mean, even some customers here, I could go visit, but I have to sign all the documentation that I haven't been sick, that I have to do all the COVID-free stuff.
It's just easier to meet them at Chili's.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, we'll do the Zoom thing, and then we'll go meet you, after work someplace else.
But, well, Chili's got that nice chicken, that honey chicken that I really like, man. That's really good stuff. If you've never tried it, Mike could tell you exactly what it's called.
Actually, no, I can't, but it was good.
It was good. Really was really good. By the way, I'm just curious if we can go around the room right now. What is the mask requirements in everybody's state? You know, if anybody wants to throw that out, because here in Nevada, we don't need masks anymore, but there's still organizations that when you walk in, their servers are wearing masks. Like, for example, I went to Cheesecake Factory. You don't need a mask to wear in. You walk in, but there is the employees are all wearing masks, and I was at Sam's Club and Costco, and the employees are wearing masks, although you don't need to wear a mask anymore. And the other thing is who's wearing a mask? I mean, when I go into Costco, I am still wearing a mask. When I go into a store that, I go into a 7-Eleven, I wear a mask. I want to. What about the rest of you guys? Let's just go around the room and throw that out.
This is
So
our
North
mask
Carolina-
requirement. This is our
Paul,
mask
Paul,
requirement.
Paul, calm down.
So North Carolina is if you have more than 100, you still have the 6 foot and 100 people in a square footage area. You have the masks are still required, and you have to maintain 6 feet social distancing, quote unquote. But outdoors, it's not, and non-vaccinated is not. But I was just reading an article on Monday that OSHA is taking up an emergency order ruling to mandate that all workplaces still must wear masks for at least July of 22. And that is being discussed by OSHA right now. So that may change.
That's interesting, Byron, because being in California, where if you're in a room with another person, everybody still wears a mask. I mean, if you're outdoors, you see some people, maybe 5% still wear masks. But if I walk into a grocery store, if I walk into the doctor's office, if I walk into any business, everybody wears a mask. And like I said, I just spent the last week in North Carolina, and the only people who were wearing masks was like bartenders, waiters, people behind the counter.
So a lot of businesses still are making it mandatory. I can't go into a Harris Teeter, which is a Kroger's grocery store, without a mask because the business has chosen to do that, but it's not.
So whereabouts in North Carolina are you?
I'm in the Charlotte area.
Yeah, see, that's the one place that I did see people. I walked into a Walmart because I flew in and out of Charlotte, walked into a Walmart, and everybody was wearing a mask. After that, I didn't see a mask except for on service people.
And I, depending on the where I am at and where I'm going, I'm fully vaccinated, but I will still wear a mask because I have a rare disease, so I have a little bit of immune suppression. So but that's my choice to wear.
Right.
But most of the restaurants now, the staff still wears them, even in the ones around Matthews where I'm at. But most of the people are just now walking in without their mask and going straight to their table. So it's not, the state has eased back that rule, but a lot of decisions by the businesses on their own are making that decision. But
yeah,
the piece that I found interesting is that the federal government, contrary to the CDC, OSHA is now trying to push that everybody has to wear a mask in a business.
Yeah. What about, let's see, what about Louisiana? Steve, what's going on over there in New Orleans?
Louisiana's open as far as a mask, no requirement, but there's still some restrictions in New Orleans depending on how many people. I don't recall exactly what all the numbers are, but for the most part, you go into any restaurant there, all the workers are still wearing masks, and people can walk in without them, and grocery stores the same way. You're seeing more and more people walking in without masks than you see in actually working in these places.
Right. What about the alligators? Is there a mandate now in the bayou that the alligators have to wear masks?
Well, I think COVID might have got them. I don't see quite as many the last week or so.
What was that big swamp rat that was running around that the alligators were eating? I couldn't remember the name of it. What?
Nutria.
You don't see any of those either, right? Anymore?
Yeah, actually, I'm seeing some in the canal by my house, actually.
So that the alligators are just probably wearing masks and they can't catch the nutria fast enough.
Yeah.
David, what's going on in California over there where you are in Hollywood?
There we go. Every time I go into a store, everyone's wearing masks. So, you know, as much as I don't feel like putting one on, I do it just because of everybody else. So, I mean, I feel pretty safe. You know, I got my shots and I'm ready to take my chances without a mask anywhere. But I you know, I have certain social responsibilities, so I follow them. But everywhere I go, I see people with masks, indoors anyway, and even outdoors. I see a lot of people with masks.
Now, Ken, when I was down there wasn't a lot of masks in Nashville, but has anything changed?
No, there's not a lot of masks and stuff there. Broadway's wide open, a lot of people in town. There were a lot of bachelorette parties. Did I also see last week that June 1st, Disney dropped the mask requirement for Disney World?
This would be a Mike Brown question if I ever heard a Mike Brown question. Or Brian Scott. These are our go-to guys when we need serious information.
Serious information. One moment, please. I'm going to look it up because I don't remember seeing that.
All right, while we're doing that, let's go to Tim because he's the only one wearing a mask. What's going on where you guys are?
Well, what's going on here is I'm in someone else's workplace where they require it. And the state of Kansas removed its statewide mask mandate. The legislature pretty well kept the governor from imposing a new one. And the backside is that counties are still free to do that, although to my knowledge, none are. Private businesses can still set up whatever requirements they want. The Kroger branded store in my locale still has a mask requirement posted on the door. All of the staff wear them. About half of the customers do. Other than that, you know, it's like I say, the problem I see from an epidemiological side is that we have the people who are not vaccinated in sufficient quantities are the ones who are partying like it's 2019, and they're the ones who will be most impacted. Grandma and grandpa aren't going to die this time around. So, you know, and there is no political will to shut things down. There is no political will to require almost anything anymore. So my prediction is that we are simply going to suck it up and take whatever happens to people and consider it a cost of doing business. Whether or not that's a good idea, that's for other people to decide.
Right.
They have started. They have started. I heard an ad earlier this week about Nashville, Vanderbilt Auditoriums. Vanderbilt University is looking for volunteers that have COVID within the past 10 days or just tested positive for treatment studies that they're working on. Treatment studies. So there's been a lot of treatments coming around, but they're looking for that, you know, how to treat. So at least we've come in and start talking about treatments again instead of just hide from it.
Yeah. Hey, Gear, Gear, do you have the ability to come online real quick to tell us what's going on in your neck of the woods up there in Northern Europe? Let's see. I know I caught him off by surprise. So let's see if we can get him to come in. In the meantime, maybe John will talk about what's going on in Monterey.
It's a beautiful day in Monterey. What can I say? And like the other Californians, the stores I see usually all the employees have masks and most of the people shopping do. It goes by county, and with Monterey, we're not in the I don't know whether it's orange, which various colors that it is. Anyway, I've got to take a call right now, so I'm going to say hi to you guys, but I only wear a mask when I'm robbing banks.
That's it. Well, I hear there's a shortage for masks for bank robbers, and that's why there's been so few bank robberies going on during this period of time. But you know, that's it. Hey, I just wanted to mention a couple of other things here regarding what's going on in the industry that I was negligent about. St. Vincent's announced their fall amphitheater St. Vincent's announces their fall amphitheater tour. Trey Antasio to reopen the Beacon Theater in New York with full June capacity, in-person shows. Petco Park in San Diego, their concerts return. They got the Beach Boys, Ziggy Marley, and that should have happened this week. Guns N' Roses, they announced that they're doing a stadium tour, and the Foo Fighters announced that they're going to do 6 outdoor summer shows. So there's a lot going on. And, you know, we are all getting back out into it. And I heard that right now, a lot of people have adopted pets. And we've been around these pets nonstop for the last, 11, 12, 13 months. And now we're going back to work, and pets are absolutely experiencing separation anxiety. I mean, is anybody being affected with separation anxiety from their pets? Are you seeing that? Anybody?
I think Vienna's missing me when I go to the camp.
Oh, you dog. That's all I can say. All right. So we're gonna stop the show right now for those people watching on Facebook, YouTube, wherever else. But before we go, I have something that I do have something that I want to say that's really important. And that's this month is the National Alliance on Mental Illness. It's Mental Health Aware Month right now. And we're going to throw some links up on that. We can get into it. I mean, if you want, we can get into it, and we could stay a little longer if you want. But Naomi Osaka, I mean, she all of a sudden she just threw this into the spotlight, because here she is, one of the top tennis players. She made $50 million last year. That's 50 million. I made 6 figures last year, but there were 2 decimal places in there, so it doesn't count. But I mean, mental illness is just a really serious challenge out there. And I wanted to know if anybody has anything that they want to say about that before we do go, because it's such an important topic.
I'll say this: if you or someone who is challenged with mental health issues, there is help. There's lots of help out there. You just have to look. And all of us here can be a helping hand. Sometimes all you need to do is listen and be available. And if somebody needs more help than that, there are tons of resources out there in every community, some of them free, many of them at virtually no cost to the patient. So don't let it slip by. If you think someone is suffering, give them a call. Just see where they're at. At worst, you'll make their day. At best, you save their life.
Yeah. Tim, isn't there something the union's doing as well for that?
Yes. I don't have any links for it, but yes, the IA has got, actually it's had a couple of webinars on doing mental health support for coworkers and stuff.
Yeah, I think it's an important issue. A lot of people who I'm speaking to right now, they will call me up, and we I talk to a lot of people every day, and I always try to bring a little humor into the conversation any way I can. Usually, I guess the key word in that is little humor, for those people who know me real well. But the reality is that I am always there for you. If you need to talk to somebody, I'm a great listener, and I want to throw that out. Especially if you're going through some challenges and you need somebody to talk to, please feel free to call me. And also, we threw some links in there as well onto that. So with that in mind, we're going to get off the air right now. We're going to talk about air fryers while you guys are gone. So if you want to get into the air fryer conversation, come back in, come next week. I think that's how we'll start it off next week with the air fryer. So remember, everything you heard is an opinion here. If you like the show, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't like it, of course, give it a thumbs up. Either way, tell your friends. The more, the merrier here. And just remember this, you make it happen. But before we go, I'm just going to throw it up to the room. Is there anybody that wants to say anything before we shut off to the outside world?
I would like your input, Jan, as far as the financial end of it, but I don't want to discuss it with the Zoom. Maybe.
Very good. I will definitely talk to you about that off air. So remember, everybody, you make it happen.
Wait. David Dansky has something he wants to say.
I want to ask you a question. I just read that Meyer Sound is authorizing Sweetwater to be a dealer. What do you think about that?
That's a shock. That's a shock to me. I didn't read that as well, but it seems to me that most manufacturers are going that way. We have a couple of D&B partners in the room, and they could talk about what D&B did. So it's just the way of the world right now. For example, Avid just went that way last year, where if I want to get any Avid consoles, I'm a dealer using the music people out of New York or Empire. So I see a lot more distribution channels rather than going direct. I mean, I believe Harman did the same thing. Right, Mike? Isn't that correct? Didn't Harman do something along those lines?
Yeah, there's a fair bit of Harman now that you can get at the MI side. Basically, aside from a couple of DBX products, Harman's line is, if it requires programming, you can't get it from MI, even from GC Pro. It's just not available. QSC, same thing. So you can get certainly their basic trap boxes, that sort of stuff. You can buy those online. You can buy their amps online. You cannot buy QSYS online.
Bro, shut up. Who cares, man? Like, oh my god, fam. Shut up.
Okay.
I
can't find that guy.
Shut up, bitch. Shut up. Shut up, faggot.
A bunch of,
Sorry. Sorry, bitch. My bad, teacher. I didn't mean. I thought my mic was on.
Find that one, but I cannot find it.
ARIF. Fucking muting me.
Kick him out of the room.
Bitch, stop muting me. Shut up, Jack.
Bye-bye.
Okay, got rid of him.
So David,
I have all these co-hosts. We took a little
cool that
while.
you're,
Thank you.
You're
so
popular
David, did you
enough
notice,
now
was
that
it
you
all
got
products or just some of the kind of basic stuff? David Dansky.
Yeah, what was that?
I said, is Meyer selling everything through Sweetwater or just some of the basic speakers?
I saw an announcement in FOH, I think it was FOH magazine, online.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure it's not Constellation or Dimitri type stuff. It's not going to be any of that. But yeah, you got to get more. I mean, let's remember that L-Acoustic, you can buy full L-Acoustic systems off their website now, pre-packaged. And that's been the case since like last June.
Yeah, it's look, the industry is changing. I think it started changing when Yuli decided to take all of his lines direct. And so the industry is changing, and it's a metamorphosis of not the only thing that's constant is change, and manufacturers need to sell more products, and the more they get it out there. But the challenge is when they start doing something like that, the people that have been representing them and fighting for them all of a sudden look for the next line that they can get away without having to fight with that. And it could very well be detrimental to a company's sales force if all of a sudden they start doing that. If the product is that good and people need it and there's no replacement, yeah, you can get away with it. But look what happened with the Midas line, with the Behringer line, with Turbo Sound. I mean, Turbo Sound, there were people that used to swear by Turbo Sound. Then he went direct, and boom, people stopped putting it into their installs. They stopped recommending it. So it's a double-edged sword. You could either sell more or you could lose your contractors, because your contractors, the way the contractors make money is they design it, and then they implement this. They implement the product at the same time, and that's how they make the money. But if it gets to the point where the designers now have to worry about the client saying, "Well, look, I'll take your design, but I'm going to buy the product because I could buy it on the street," that's a big problem, right, Mike?
Yeah, I mean, it's beyond a problem at that point. We just I generally stop calling. We move, like you said, I move on to another brand.
Ken Porter, you know, with D&B, didn't they just do something like that with D&B? That they want you to register your clients?
They direct and they want to know who the clients are. They've known this for a while. They've also got website you can buy direct and packages and stuff there. You know, the issue is going to be is that Win needs more training, education and stuff to hold it. Like if you think about Midas, are you going to be, if you're a production manager and say the engineer says, I think I want that new Midas console, and they say, okay, who's going to support it? Do we know there? Who are we going to call when it locks up in the middle of a show on a Friday night? You know, who's going to explain to you how to set up the programs and how to get through all the console? It's not, you know, the problem is there's some things that's got to be, you got to have some backing support and not just buy a box and here's the box.
Yep.
100% agree, Ken. You know, absolutely.
Yep. Anyway, we got a lot to talk about. I hope you enjoyed this meeting. For those people, like I said, on YouTube and Facebook, we're going to say goodbye to you now. Just remember, you make it happen. And so thanks for listening. For the rest of the people, we're going to stay in the room. We're going to continue the conversation, and we are going to go offline now.